Why's Audacity? Oh, we're recording. Hey guys. Today we're gonna be reading Pony Scales Chapter 4, and if it's too short, it's like 2,000 some words. We might read Chapter 5 as well. So here we go. Twilight awoke early in the morning, the sun having just risen with light barely managing to shine into the cave. It was very quiet outside, the plants and grass still covered with morning dew. However, the light was not what woke Twilight up, for her and Spike were too far back into the cave to be able to feel the sun's direct rays. Twilight was woken up by Spike's constant mumbling, as well as his body moving around in her arms. He seems to be having quite an active dream, Twilight thought to herself as her mind recovered from her previously sleeping state. But what in Equestria would make him squirm around so much? Is he having a nightmare? With her eyes still closed, Twilight moved her arms around Spike in order to bring him to a close embrace to calm him down. Twilight gently began pulling him against her when she abruptly stopped, feeling something else against her. What is that? Twilight once again spoke to herself as she felt something fleshy against her thigh. Feeling around, Spike's arms were both curled up under her chest with his head nestled into her arms. Twilight imagined it would be his tail curled up between his legs, and that's what a dragon and most animals normally do when scared, but quickly found that to be protruded out in the opposite direction. Twilight then felt his legs, confirming that they both were held up against against her legs as well, and was intended from the embrace. Still, Twilight could find no explanation for this new object poking her. She then slowly placed her hand on it, gently feeling it around to hopefully find out what it is. She then felt that it continued on, and as she felt her hand around to where it leads, she heard Spike let out a hearty moan. In an instant, Twilight's eyes shot open as she realized what or who this piece of fleshy mass was connected to. A fleshy mass. It all suddenly clicked into place. The squirming, the poking, the moan. And just as she had released her hand, Spike's hips gently began to gyrate, poking her thigh over and over. Oh. Twilight was about to look down and see, but then closed her eyes once more as she blushed intensely, slowly pulling Spike off of her. I don't believe it. She gasped inwardly as she gently laid Spike on his back beside her, not even daring to glance over. I didn't even know he was old enough for that yet. It can't be. Maybe it's not. Maybe it was something else. Maybe I should take a look to see. No, I can't. Oh, Celestia, what do I do? Another expenditure of this thing called time later. Spike groaned loudly as he eventually came out of his own slumber, bringing up one of his hands and rubbing his eyes. He then leaned up and looked around, gradually pulling his eyes open more and more as he continued to fully wake up. It didn't take him long to notice that he was still in the cave, as well as the pile of leaves on his lap that resembled a teepee. Spike groaned, his mind not fully yet functional. That was a long night. Why is there a pile of leaves on my... Spike then gasped as he remembered that he had... Oh my god. Spike then gasped as he remembered that he had been in Twilight's arms last night, and then of a dream he had last night as well. He then shifted his legs slightly and felt himself rubbing against the leaves, a very private section of himself. Oh man, did I do it again? Spike asked himself as he stared at the little leaf pile. That thing that I get when I wake up from some of those really weird dreams. I had one again. And his eyes then shot open as he looked around the cave, closely examining his surroundings. Twilight! He said as he looked for her. He hesitated to get up and risk revealing himself, but he already felt himself retracting as he grew more concerned over Twilight's whereabouts. With his shame finally tugged in fully, he got up and brushed the leaves off of himself and then started to run towards the exit. It didn't take him long to see Twilight sitting out on a small ways beyond the opening, looking out through a break in the trees. Spike slowed down as he approached, nervous of how Twilight might react to what she found when she woke up. It was obvious that she saw it, and he knew it, yet he knew that he had to confront her. And he hoped dearly that she wouldn't mention anything. Twilight? Spike spoke in a soft voice as he came up behind her. Oh, Spike, you're awake. Twilight said in a moderately upbeat tone of voice. "Come and sit. I've been thinking a lot this morning." "Okay," Spike said, taking a seat beside her after a bit of hesitation. "What have you been thinking about?" "Well, first I was thinking how we're going to get out of this forest. The water flows down from the mountains deeper in the Everfree Forest and then out towards the edges to go beyond the forest. There's even one specific river that ends up flowing right beside Ponyville. So, even if we don't catch that one river, we're bound to find out way out and get to some sort of road somewhere. And then we can begin to head back." "Wow, I never thought of that. You think it'll work?" "I am almost certain. I was mainly waiting for you to wake up so we could get going. I'm really hungry, and I bet you are too, so I didn't waste too much time." "Well, we should be going then," Spike said as he practically jumped to his feet, ready to move out. "Let's go!" "Hold on," Twilight spoke up, making Spike stop immediately. "There's something else I wanted to talk about." "Oh no, I hope she isn't going to bring this up in the morning," Spike thought. "I wanted to talk to you about, well, what happened this morning." "Dang it! What about this morning?" Spike peered side to side nervously as he rubbed his claw on the back of his head. "Spike, come sit down, please," she said in a more monotone voice, pushing Spike's nervous meter higher. As Spike sat down, Twilight began again. "Spike, what I want to know first is, what do you think of Rarity?" "Rarity?" Spike asked with a confused face. "What do you mean? She's the most beautiful, amazing, generous pony there is. I mean, she is the element of generosity, you know." "Yes, I know, Spike. Now, what do you think of me?" "Well, you're Twilight. You're almost like a sister, but not exactly like that. I mean, I know we're not related technically, but..." Spike looked over at Twilight and then down to her chest, biting his lips slightly. It's just... It's alright, Spike." Twilight smiled lightly with a small blush. "You don't need to be ashamed. In fact, I'm surprised that I had never really expected this sort of outcome when turning into a dragon." "You didn't?" Spike asked, confused. "Well, not really. But I can sort of guess a few things. First, you like Rarity in a very platonic way, don't you?" What? "It means that when you think of her, you don't end with what you had this morning." Oh. Spike gulped loudly as his face flushed red. "Right. But when I turned into a dragon like you, and with me being the opposite gender, you don't exactly think of me like you do Rarity, but as something else. Something more. Don't you?" Spike didn't reply, but he bit his lip with a slow nod. Twilight sighed in response. "Actually, Twilight, I sort of have a confession to make." "What's that, Spike?" "Well," Spike fiddled his fingers together as he gathered up the strength to bring out one of his deepest secrets. This isn't the first time this has happened." "Huh?" Twilight raised an eyebrow. "Well, I mean, this morning. It's happened a couple times, and it's usually after I wake up." Spike gulped again as he was about to continue. "You see, I came across one of your anatomy books one day while you were gone, and sort of found a section on dragons. Female dragons." Oh my." Twilight blushed lightly as she recalled her own discovery of the reproduction system, which was also by a book. "And, well, after that, that's when I sometimes had these weird dreams with some of the dragons from the book. They were doing, like... I can't explain it, but a lot of stuff. To me." Aw, Spike. He's new to it. Oh my god, I love these kind of stories. I love it. I love hearing about people being introduced. It's so... It's my soft spot, man. It's all really weird. I know this must be really hard for you. Twilight started as she looked at Spike with a warm smile. You're just too young to fully understand all the things you're feeling. And to suddenly have this situation put on me and you, well, I can't even imagine the frustration you must be going through. I'm sorry for not realizing this earlier, Spike. It would have saved you, and probably me, a lot of trouble. It's alright, Twilight. I should be the one apologizing. After all, with that, well, you know. Don't worry, there's nothing to apologize for. You're just reaching a certain age is all. You're probably going to start changing a lot soon, and I'll be there to help you out every step of the way. What kind of changes? Like, you know, growing up changes. Your scales will get longer, tougher, your limbs will grow, you'll eat more, that sort of thing. Okay, I think I get it. Hey, wait a second. Spike seemed to have encountered an epiphany. If I feel this way when I see you, then do you know... Huh? Oh my, no. I believe I've still got my regular pony instincts with me. Wow. Twilight blushed lightly at the levels of awkwardness this conversation had already reached. The next minute was filled with silence as the two sat there, Spike sometimes taking a quick peek at Twilight and then looking away as Twilight took a quick peek towards Spike. Neither of the two knew any good way to continue this conversation, so Twilight decided to make the first move. Should we get started? Twilight asked as she looked at Spike. Started? Spike looked back, having just snapped out of his daydream he was in, and somehow managed to connect it with reality. You mean... Oh gosh, Twilight, I don't know. I mean, this is just... I don't know if my body's ready for that. Spike, I was talking about starting down the river. Oh, alright, Spike looked away momentarily, trying to hide his bright blush on his face. Yeah, let's get going. Spike shot up to his feet and proceeded to march in a direction parallel to the river, keeping his face turned while his blush slowly faded. Spike, downriver is the other way, Twilight corrected. Oh, I knew that. Spike replied quickly as he turned around and began marching in the correct direction. Twilight quickly joined him, and soon they were both walking at a steady pace with the river in view beside them. Well, Twilight started, all we have to do is follow the river, get out of here to the Everfree Forest, find a road, and make our way to Ponyville. Sounds easy enough. What could go One of Spike's hands reached up and blocked Twilight's mouth before she could finish. Please don't jinx us again. Okay, well, 13 minutes, I think that should be enough to keep some of you people satisfied until tomorrow, so deal with it, .jpg.